All right, and I just turned on recording, Stella, so we'll just kick it off from here. So I am so pleased I get a chance to work with all of you today, and just make sure you guys can, everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
We're good? All right. So I want to just say a little bit about my background really briefly, and that is that I've had a chance to teach LinkedIn both in the UAE, in the UK, and throughout the US, in the Northeast, as well as down in Florida. I'm teaching LinkedIn for career counselors to help them understand the tool, as well as to end users, so anyone that's in the job search. And my other category is entrepreneurs, so I run half-day lab sessions to help entrepreneurs use this tool. Anyone in the audience considering, I guess you'll call it SMEs or entrepreneurs, startups? Just, Stella, can you tell me how many people raised their hands, just so I can have a sense?
3, 4.
3 or 4. Okay, great. So for those of you in that sector, you might want to pay special attention because it's such a great way to find other people to connect with as you start to think about building a business, as well as a marketing tool. All right. With that said, I want to let you know that everyone has a copy of the handout, hopefully, and this handout is also hyperlinked to my website. So if you go to sabrina-woods.com, then you'll see I have a whole LinkedIn page of resources. And I'm sliding down on my page. The very first link says LinkedIn for Job Search on the left-hand side. So this is going to be a place that you can circle back to if you ever lose the handout, and also because everything in that handout is hyperlinked. So feel free to use that as a resource and go back and forth during our session today. In fact, I'll be referencing some things on this page, such as sample profile summaries, down here a little ways on the handout section, as well as sample requests for informational interview. So lots of things we'll kind of pop back over to here. All right. Another quick question for you. How many people have been, how many people had a profile on LinkedIn even before you heard about the workshop? So quick raise of hands and Stella can let me know where we're at with that. So how many had it before the workshop?
That's everyone.
Everyone. Okay. Can someone in the audience tell me, why did you bother getting a LinkedIn profile? What was your reason for having one? Can anyone share?
Yes.
Connecting with business people, the connections.
Connecting with other people for networking purposes.
Okay. And so I bet a whole ton of you have that same reasoning. Building business connections for the future, whether it's for your current job or for future jobs. Correct?
Another reason is to get to know people and know where they are coming.
Did you get that?
Oh, I couldn't hear that. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we need to get a microphone, Michaela. That would be. Thank you. So another reason is to get to know where people are coming from, what sort of companies they work for.
Great. So get a
Get
better sense on someone's background, find out where they're coming from, find out where they worked before, things like that, right?
Yes.
So this helps getting connections through the old companies to connect to them.
Getting connections through different companies that you're targeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So I see LinkedIn as an extremely broad tool. It's so much more than just having your resume online. That's sort of like how LinkedIn started. Now it's this amazing tool for developing connections that can help you specifically with your job search, as well as for doing your everyday work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into just a fun slide here that talks about social media. Let me know, Stella, when this comes up. The slide I'm going to bring up is kind of just for fun. It says social media explained with coffee. And each one of these represents different types of social media. So on Facebook, we might say, I like coffee. On Twitter, you might have coffee hashtagged. And on LinkedIn, the one at the bottom there says, I am good at drinking coffee. So this is just obviously something for fun, but it kind of does reflect, wow, there are so many different social media tools now. And LinkedIn's the one where we get a chance to talk about what we're capable of, what our expertise is. And we're going to go into a lot more detail when we dive into our profiles in a little bit. But just wanted to show you that slide. Did that come up okay on the screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to jump into a PowerPoint, and I'm just going to take us through what our goals are for this session today, what it is that I'm hoping that you're going to take away from it. And some of you already know some of the basics, and we're going to go through really in depth with your profile, as well as take you into the networking aspect. Okay. And that's up on the screen?
Yes.
Great. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm just going to. Okay, this is not. Sorry, one sec. For some reason, this is freezing up on me. Okay. Try this again. When I go to full screen, there we go. Okay. A couple of things we're going to talk about is how and why LinkedIn is valuable. We're going to dive deeply into your profile to make sure that not only you have your resume, your background, details about your work, but also that you have two other things. That is a strong summary statement and visually compelling media links. And I'm going to guess a lot of you don't even have media links yet, so we'll spend a little time on that. The third thing on our list is to customize your LinkedIn name. It's basically getting your own public profile so that you can add it to a resume or an email signature. In addition, we're going to make sure you understand kind of all the navigation for LinkedIn, how to invite people, the strategies, especially when working within groups in terms of building your network, and how to research companies. Here are some statistics for the U.S. It's pretty impactful how important our online or digital footprint is these days. If Stella or myself worked in an HR department, there'd be a 75% chance that our boss would say to us, you guys need to review candidates online at some point during that recruitment process. 85%, here's the good news, will say that that online reputation can be positively influenced, at least to some extent. And as probably most of you know, LinkedIn ranks very high in Google searches. And quick raise of hands, how many of you Googled yourself in the last 3 months and know what comes up with your name? How many of you, by quick raise of hands, have Googled yourself in the last 3 months? Anybody?
I don't know, 98% of the attendees, I'd say.
Fantastic. All right. So you get it. That's what it tells me. It tells me you're on top of your digital footprint and you're paying attention to what's out there about yourself. So again, that is really good news, and now we're going to enhance it by having an even stronger LinkedIn profile. Some other stats that are pretty powerful are that 79% of job openings, I think this is also a U.S. statistic, but I think this number would be growing throughout the world, 79% of job openings are posted to at least one social network, and 77% are shared on LinkedIn. Now, when we look at that 77% number, we know there's a jobs tab on LinkedIn. That's not the only place where these jobs are showing up, though. They're also showing up inside groups. So if you join a group for supply chain, for example, you could actually see the discussions as well as pop over to the tab that says jobs. Another place is on a company's page. So if you were targeting a job with Emirates, you could go to the Emirates page and you can see what jobs they have posted there. One last way in which jobs are posted are through updates. And I'm wondering in this group, has anyone, I know Stella does a lot of updates from her home page, has anyone else in the room gone to their home page and posted a blog or any kind of other update kind of similar to what you do on Facebook? So quick raise of hands. Is anyone doing that yet?
2, 3.
We got 2 or 3?
Yes.
All right. How many of you are doing that in Facebook? Anybody?
Okay, I will answer for that. That's everyone. But they are not raising hands.
All right. So you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say go and add an update to Facebook, and it's about your, the weekend, some plans you had, or things that you're doing with friends. Those are social updates. What I'd love to do is take, let's say you're on Facebook 3 hours a week. I know it's probably more than that, but if you can take an hour of your Facebook time and put it into LinkedIn, then you're going to start benefiting from that idea of posting updates, but they're going to be professional instead. I'll show you some a little later, but I just wanted to have you kind of think about it. Maybe I could take some of that time spent on Facebook, push it into LinkedIn a little more. One more stat for us is that recruiters are using social media. They are posting jobs through their social media, and they're reviewing candidates through social media. 94% of recruiters are using it, and LinkedIn is their #1 choice. That shows you how important it is. Now, I'm going to kick off with a quick story. I'm not sure that you know how Stella and I met. This is an old slide of when Stella worked at American University in Dubai. And what happened was I was making a trip to Dubai. What's that?
Don't do this to me again.
Oh, come on, Stella. I got to tell them our story. So the story goes like this. I was visiting a friend in Dubai in 2012, and I thought, what a great opportunity. I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. Why not find out how does career services, how does job search happen in the Middle East or in the UAE? I looked on Google to find some universities. I found American University in Dubai as one choice, and I used LinkedIn, and I came across this woman, Stella, who had a phenomenal LinkedIn profile. Here I was thinking, this would be the person I would love to speak with. Because of her LinkedIn profile and the quality of the work that I could see, and from her personal Wix page, a professional personal profile, basically a website, I decided she's the one I want to contact. Long story short, we had a phenomenal meeting when I came into Dubai, and we decided it'd be fun to work together more. We decided to host a meeting for career counselors in Dubai. 6 months later, when I was back at Christmas time visiting in December, we ended up throwing a conference, the first Middle East Career Development Conference. And we had individuals from 6 different Middle East countries and about, was it 85 or 90, Stella? Somewhere in there, right?
Yep.
So the reason I tell you the story is because of LinkedIn that I actually know Stella, and we got this chance to work together again. So my network has been blown open to meet so many additional people, all because of LinkedIn and because of reaching out and connecting with others. I asked for an in-person thing called an informational interview. We're going to talk about that a little later, but that's what gave me the opportunity to speak with Stella. Had to share that story. Now, I'm going to share a couple more, and then we're going to go into the building your profile. I wanted to tell you these stories because it helps you see there's so much to this tool in terms of, especially when it comes to global, you having an opportunity to reach out to people in other countries and other places. And I know only, say, maybe 25% of you are staying in Dubai, so many of you are going to so many different places. That makes this tool even more powerful for you. The next thing you see is my buddy Jim. Now, he is a career counselor in Maine, the northern part of the U.S., very cold and snowy up there right now, especially. Now, I was in a group on LinkedIn, and I saw a post from this guy named Jim. I hadn't met him yet. This was last year, or maybe about 18 months ago. He had posted that he was running a webinar. I wrote back and I said, your webinar topic sounds so interesting. Unfortunately, I'm teaching a workshop at the same time. We bantered back and forth about a couple of other things. I offered to help him with something that had to do with LinkedIn. I just said, hey, there's another way you can advertise your webinars. I'd be happy to lend a hand to help you get a little more publicity for your webinars. We spoke on the phone for about 5 minutes. Continued to see him in LinkedIn groups, and we became first-level connections. Now, fast forward about, I think it was about 6 months later, I was being considered for a keynote at a conference, be the keynote opening speaker. After I was offered the keynote, I found out that Jim Peacock was on the board that made the decision. I didn't know it at the time. So what ended up happening is my attitude of reaching out and my attitude of helping others circled back to me 6 months later and helped me secure the keynote speech. One more story. You really can grow your reputation through LinkedIn groups. A fun story comes up with a woman named Rose Keating. I think it was about 2 years ago. She came and was going to be an intern, a career services assistant in my office in Boston at Northeastern University. After I met her, she said to me, "I knew who you were before I ever met you, simply from seeing your activity in the career counselor groups." That was sort of wild to me. I didn't know that people would know my name just because I'm participating in groups. She went on to say, what I also wanted to say was that simply from your online presence, I assumed you were the head director over at the Northeastern University Career Services. Now that really had me taken aback. I never said I was a director. I'm one level down, called an associate director. So it made me realize that LinkedIn's incredibly powerful for growing your reputation and becoming an expert in your field. By the way, Rose Keating now works for HALT in Boston. So she is part of your university system, working in the Career Center in Boston, Mass. At HALT International. Okay, so one last one is a job search success story. A woman who was doing an internship in our office named Anne, who you see in that first slide, she noticed that there was a job opening for a career counselor at Fisher College. She also noticed through her LinkedIn connections that I knew the director, named Heather. So Anne approached me and she said, "Sabrina, do you know Heather well enough to let her know I've applied for that job?" And I said, I spoke to her once in a meeting after a meeting was over for about 20 minutes. So I felt like I knew her well enough. I sent Heather a message, an email through LinkedIn to tell her that my colleague, Anne, had applied for a job at her career center. Bottom line was, Anne got an interview and actually got hired. So having that extra contact or connection at an organization brings your resume to the top of a pile, and it allows you to be taken more seriously. So one of the goals that you have in LinkedIn is not as direct as just job search. It's more indirect, and it's about developing connections at different organizations so that down the line you might have that opportunity to know somebody at that organization where you apply. So there's a little bit of patience that are needed within LinkedIn. And again, my strategy has always been, how can I help others? So contributing to the whole collective environment in groups especially can make a big impact. Okay, at this point we're going to jump in. You're going to each be inside your own LinkedIn profiles, and we're going to make some edits and work through increasing the strength of your profile. And again, I'll say if you ever lose that handout or you want all the hyperlinks, jump onto my page, sabrina-woods.com. I make changes to that job search handout about every 2 weeks or so because things change so frequently in LinkedIn. So I constantly keep that up to date. When they move something around or they cancel something or they add something, I'll keep that section updated so you can always pop in there. Okay, so at this point, going to your own home page, you're going to see in just a moment, you'll see my home page popping up. And I'm going to make this screen just a little bigger here in a minute. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into edit mode. So each of you want to hover across the top bar where the word profile is, and you want to look on the drop-down menu to the word edit profile. This is probably pretty basic. I'm assuming this is very, very easy because you've all had a profile for a while. So most of the time during our session, we're going to be in that edit profile mode. All right. Once you're in edit mode, anywhere you see that there's like a little blue pencil, and anywhere you see that blue pencil, you're going to be able to make edits too. How many people in the room have already done what I would call customize your header? Your header is what's right below your name. I'm trying to highlight it here, but it's a little bit slow. So right below your name, you can see mine is Holistic Career Life Coach, LinkedIn Trainer, Higher Education Professional, and then Collaborator and Connector. Has anyone customized their LinkedIn header?
4 people, yes, 5.
Ah, fantastic. Can one of you tell me, or tell Stella, and she can repeat it, what did you change your header to? If you don't change it, the default is your current job.
Anyone?
Anyone want to volunteer? No, I'm putting you on the spot.
Come on, guys.
Ah,
I changed it to MBA student at heart. It was MBA student at heart and planner and coordinator of supply chain and operations.
So you changed it to?
It was MBA student at heart.
Yes.
That was the only thing that was doing.
Yeah.
Then I changed it to planner and coordinator of supply chain and operations.
So it was MBA, student at heart, and he changed it to planner and coordinator.
Both of them. MBA student and
Oh, you've got both of them.
you
Okay.
put your degree and your expertise then, basically, your industry information.
Yes.
That's a great idea. You're showing people where you're going, what industry you're in, or what job title you have, and you're showing people that you're currently getting your MBA. I love that you did that. That's really good. So each of you can think about your header and what is it that you might want to include. On the handout, you'll see you can do your current job title, or you could do something like one example I have on the handout. If you look on number 1, professional headline, it'll say engineering graduate student focused on medical device R&D. So it could be MBA graduate student focused on accounting and finance, or more specific, accounting and budget, and one other term that you want to throw in. So the way LinkedIn operates is that it's very keyword driven. Your headline is your number 1 place for keywords. I was hired by a school called Rhode Island School of Design. It's an art school, school meaning university. The reason I got hired to come in and teach LinkedIn there is because I was found in LinkedIn because of my headline. My headline having the word LinkedIn trainer allowed me to show up in a search, and that's how I got hired. That's how important it is. People are going to be searching, especially as you grow within your career. You become mid-level professionals, and now you're even more wanted. You're more sought out. Recruiters are actively seeking by keywords. So I want each of you to think for a moment, maybe even take a few notes. Think about what industry you're heading into, what kinds of jobs you're going to be focused on, or you're currently in, and take a moment and see if you can actually add in a couple of keywords or change your header. Okay? Take just a moment for that. Because one other example I have on the handout shows you can list several things. Communications professional, writer and editor, creative writing instructor. So this person might have 3 different areas of focus, kind of like how I do on mine. Okay. So just take 1 second. Just jot down a keyword or 2, and you can always edit it later after the session. Okay. Everybody get a chance to at least think about it a little? The next thing we're going to go into, I'm just going to mention, is that you can choose what area you want to list for your region. Mine currently says Providence, Rhode Island. So at times I listed myself as Boston because I also work there, Boston, Massachusetts. For you, if, for example, you're from Europe, or you're from China, or you're from India, or you're from the U.S., and you're returning back to one of those countries after you finish your MBA, One option is to put that country on there now while you're still finishing up. So it could say Dubai right now, or it could say another place if you're returning home. The next box actually talks about your industry, and it's from a drop-down menu. So you just have to pick which one. You can only have one in there. So choose that area. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do that edit your public profile URL. Underneath your picture, does everyone see a small website link that starts with linkedin.com? Do people see that? Just shake your heads and I'll kind of have a sense.
Yeah.
Right underneath your photo. Now, do you see the word edit? So if you see the word edit, you've got to make sure you're in edit mode still, of course. We want you to hit the edit button so that you will then be able to make this change. What we're doing is we're customizing your public profile URL so that you can have hopefully your first name and your last name. And I'm going to scroll down here and I'll show you. What you're looking for is the phrase, customize your public profile URL. And what you're hoping to do is see if you can get your first name and your last name. So click the tab that says customize your public profile URL and type in first name, last name, no space, no dashes, and no caps. If you can't get first name, last name, try adding a middle initial, a middle name, try adding a number, or even flipping your name, last name to first name. And Stella, if you could walk around the room a little bit for a moment, I usually just make sure everybody can see that correctly and find it okay.
We counsel this on one-to-one advising sessions as well. So
Oh,
I'm
good.
guessing that most of the guys have already done that already. Yeah. If anyone needs help, just let me know.
Okay,
Yeah, you okay? Yeah, all okay.
great. So does anyone in the audience already use it in their email signature? Anybody use it in their email signature already?
Yeah, a few.
A few, okay. So think about this for a moment. The advantage is when you're emailing back and forth, especially for job purposes or for networking purposes, people can see your LinkedIn profile and see things like the recommendations that others have written about you. Your LinkedIn at this point is so much more powerful than even a resume because it's more robust. Once you have recommendations, endorsements, and a very full profile, you might want to start adding that email signature to your emails and have it be there all the time. Mine's in there all the time now. I want people to be able to get to my page with ease. Okay. I'm going to skip. Edit contact information is right underneath the number of connections. I'm going to skip that section because it's straightforward. You can just go in and edit that area. I added in my Skype, for example. I chose not to add in my birthday. That's more Facebook. I also chose not to add in my marital status. Those are individual decisions, but I chose to keep that as completely out of my professional part. What we're going to look at next is your summary. Let's see. You can see the summary on this page at this point, hopefully, right?
Yes.
What you have for mine is I have 3 distinct areas within my business, and I kick it off with one sentence. Creative, engaging, career development professional, workshop facilitator, and public speaker with global work experience and a passion for connecting people. One thing you might notice is I have a little theme. In my headline, I talk about how I'm a connector and collaborator, and here you see again in my summary, I talk about my desire for connecting people. I'm doing that piece because I'm trying to differentiate myself from other career professionals. What is it that is sort of unique to me? And I wanted to have that theme going throughout. The next thing you see is that I have 3 different areas: the Holistic Career Life Coach, Retreat and Workshop Facilitator, as well as International LinkedIn Trainer. So this is one model, but there are lots of other ways in which you can choose to set up a summary. If you want, right now, you can go to my webpage, the sabrina-woods.com, and in the handout section, you can click on Sample Profile Summaries. Again, in that handout section, you can click on Sample Profile Summaries, and I'll show you a couple that are really different. And we're going to do a little exercise where you're going to work on your keywords for your own summary. This is such an important part of your LinkedIn profile because it's like your 30-second commercial. It's your summary of who you are, and it also helps position you for where you're headed next. So I want to make sure we can spend a few minutes. My goal is that you'll have 3 to 4 minutes to develop a list of 5 to 10 keywords and phrases that you can later on add into your profile. So let's take a look at the first sentence for Justin. He works in the criminal justice field, and his very first sentence says, "Passion and diligence are 2 traits that I believe most reflect me as an individual." Now, that is very much about this person's personality. So one of the unique things about a LinkedIn summary is it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be as black and white and as boring as a resume tends to be. You can show off a little bit of who you are. So you get to not only talk about your specific technical skills or industry-related skills, but you can talk about who you are as an individual. Here's the really important thing to keep in mind. Recruiters and hiring managers are looking for actually 2 things. You're looking for someone that has the skills that can do this job, but the other huge piece is they're looking for someone that can fit into their team, into their corporate culture, or their small business. So when we're working within our LinkedIn profile and our summary very specifically, we have this great opportunity to show off more than just our skill set. We have the opportunity to show off a little bit more of who we are, so someone can get a sense of that. The next one I'm going to show you is Jessica Yang. She's a PhD candidate. I got a chance to work with her when I work over at Harvard Medical School. I help what are called postdoctoral fellows and their PhD students with their profiles too. Here you'll see about 3 or 4 sentences in, you'll see a sentence where Jessica talks about how her supervisors see her. She says, "My supervisors and colleagues would describe me as a driven, resourceful individual who maintains a positive, proactive attitude when faced with adversity." Wow. When you take that in, you really get a sense that Jessica got a lot of perseverance, and she has this really upbeat attitude. She pushes through hard problems. That's a pretty awesome trait to have in any kind of employee. Let's look at the next one, which is someone I worked with over at Harvard also, who's a management consultant. This is Vanessa. I like her first statement. She says, "Multifaceted professional with 10 years of experience living, studying, and working in international environments, in particular Europe, US, and Africa. Particular industry experience in strategy and business development across consulting, consumer goods marketing, and nonprofit sectors, as well as resource mobilization and strategic partnership building." Really nicely said background information about who she is. The last one I'm going to show off is someone named Steve, who works as a recruiter, and he has a bit of a sense of humor. You see, old school, new cool, recruiting player coach strategist. His very first bullet says talent community builder and pipeline populating magician. So he's making difficult candidates just appear as if he were a magician. So that's kind of a fun one. His second to last bullet, he uses the acronym ATS. He says, any tech, any ATS, which is an applicant tracking system, any challenge, any day. So he's trying to tell his audience he's up for it. He's basically saying, bring it on. What you're seeing throughout these summaries is that they're really different. They're really personalized. I really wanted to show you a variety so you could say, wow, I can own this. I can make this reflect who I am as an individual. If I'm targeting an industry that's very conservative and strict, a finance or accounting, or one of the large consulting firms, right? A Deloitte or a PwC kind of thing. I'm going to be more formal. I'm going to be less comical, right? Now, if I'm targeting an entrepreneurial environment, if I'm targeting a unique company like wanting to work for Google, I have that opportunity to show a little more flair, right? So here's your job right now. I want you to grab, open up a Word document, or even grab an old-fashioned pen and paper, and take a moment. I want you to think about, how do you want to be known? What are some of your technical skills? What are some of your personality characteristics? My goal for you is to come up with those 5 to 10 descriptive words and phrases that you can later on build into your profile. Okay? We're not going to build a summary right now, but instead you're going to be strategic. A good question to ask is, what excites you at work? What projects have you worked on before that you really liked? What are you excited to do in the future? What industries are you targeting? Or what are some of your achievements? These are questions merely to help you think about this question. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment and have you spend the next 3 or 4 minutes writing down as many as you can. Brainstorming means you don't critique at the moment. Instead, you think fast and write quickly. Later on, you'll edit, critique, and then post it. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment. Hard for me to do when I can't see the crowd, but I will be quiet for a moment and let you work.
Would you like to repeat the questions again, the brainstorming questions that might help?
Yeah, let me see. I used to have them listed. I'm going to look on my desktop for a second and see if I can find them. If not, let me just grab a Word document and I'll list them, or grab the PowerPoint here.
She's listing them there. Sabrina, if I may also remind you, in terms of the time, we have 45 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. So, can I ask, has anyone come up with a word or phrase that they think they could later on build into their profile?
No? Yes?
Okay. Do you feel like you at least got a couple of ideas that you'll later on be able to add in? Just do a nod of heads so I got a sense that this was helpful a little bit.
Yes, we will send it later on. Yes.
Okay. Do you get the sense, though, on why it's so important? People get to your page, and you can use that summary as a place to guide them so that in a very short amount of time, they're going to know who you are, what your key strengths are, and where you're headed, meaning what industry you're targeting, or where the kind of jobs that you're looking for or going to be working in. What is that area that you're specializing or working in? So the homework assignment I usually give out when I teach this, my goal for you is that in 2 weeks' time, you have 3 sentences at least up on your profile. If we stress about it and try and have, a huge profile summary filled out, we might delay how quickly we get it up. So if you can at least get 3 sentences up within 2 weeks, then later on you could go and edit it and tweak it and add to it. And Stella, do you critique LinkedIn summaries in the careers office?
Not really, but we could do that.
Okay. Well, here's what also you could do. You could ask, each of you in the audience could ask one of your friends, classmates, to look at your profile, say in 10 seconds or in 20 seconds, what are you seeing in my profile, especially my summary? Ask them for the 3 words that come to mind. That way you'll see how are you coming across this to others. So you can do this 30-second test. What 3 things are coming up when someone looks at my profile in 30 seconds? Okay, I'm going to keep us moving. We're going to go into number 6. We're not going to spend time on this. I just want you to be aware of it. Number 6 talks about how you can add sections. If you look to the right of my profile when I'm in edit mode, you'll see recommended for you, languages, publications, all up in the upper right-hand corner. There are different ways that you can customize your own LinkedIn profile. One of the things I added was projects. I also added in certifications. Now, for an MBA student, I especially like projects because you might have had a group project that you did for one of your classes, maybe last semester, or maybe you're in it right now. That project might be completely related to the career and the sector that you're interested in targeting. So you could use that projects section to describe that project in depth. People would understand what you researched, how you collaborated with others, and maybe you had to do a presentation for it too. So think at some point, what can I add in to augment my LinkedIn by using those additional sections? All right. Next, we're going to move down to skills. And I'm going to come back up to the other parts of our profile, but we're in number 7 I skipped over. Let me come back up here. Number 7 is just your experience. It's taking what's on your resume and dropping it in. What you see on the screen right now is Associate Director Career Services, my current role at Northeastern University that I do in addition to my private practice, my small business. So you can take and you can do it in bullets or in paragraphs. The only reason I did paragraphs is because I have so many jobs. Paragraphs take up a little less space, but your choice for that. Now on to number 8 on the handout, skills and endorsements. So I want you to go down to your skills and endorsements section. And most of you have probably already added in some skills. So the things that you came up with when you were brainstorming up above, for your summary, those keywords, especially those industry-specific keywords, are things you're going to want to add in the skills section because others can endorse them. I'm sure many of you have already been endorsed for some of your skills. So just know that you can go in here and you can hit the edit key and you can add in additional words. It doesn't just have to be from the drop-down menu. So add in whatever words you'd like. And you can also get rid of words that no longer, that somebody might have endorsed you for something that you don't really feel like is a good thing to have. So you can go and exit out. So wherever these are, where the X's can just get rid of it. Okay? Now,
may I interrupt you, Sabrina? May I interrupt you?
Please,
Can you very briefly also explain why this is an important part of the profile so they can understand where it's being used in terms of recruitment purposes?
Yeah. So when it comes to keyword searches that I was talking about, recruiters will go in to LinkedIn and search by keyword. The keywords that are, the sections that are most important to pay attention to for your keywords are the summary, headline first, summary, job titles, and skills section. That's what I've read. Those four are the most important. If I were a recruiter and I were looking for somebody in marketing and I had two really similar candidates, they both had MBAs, they both had a couple years of marketing experience, and if I saw that one of them happened to have 19 endorsements for marketing and the other maybe they didn't even have any, or they had two, it might sway me as a recruiter to think, wow, this person has been endorsed more for that particular item. However, they also know that endorsements are so easy because they're a click of a button. They're not nearly as valuable as your recommendations are. So while I do want you to manage your skills and endorsement section, I want you to make sure you have your most important keywords there. I also want you to think back, who can I talk to? Even classmates, coworkers, it doesn't have to be just a prior supervisor or boss. These other individuals can also write you a recommendation. They have to be a first level connection in order to do that. Okay? They're going to show up under your job, or they could even show up under education. A professor could write you a recommendation. If you worked on a semester-long project with a fellow classmate, that person could also write you a recommendation within the education section. So you can think broadly about how you can get those recommendations in. Any questions on the stuff we've covered so far? Let me just take a quick little break because I'm going to go into number 10, and then we're going to talk about the networking piece for our final half hour, or final 20 minutes. Any questions so far?
Can you repeat the 4 points where recruiters source keywords from? It was the head title, it was the experience.
Yeah, I'm going to
the summary and the right?
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to type it.
It's the title that you use to describe your jobs. So it's the heading, you've got your title underneath your name, the summary, profile,
Yep.
the jobs, the titles that you use, and the way you describe your jobs, and the skills. That's the fourth one. Yeah, the skills is the one that we're looking at right now. So if, for example, I'm looking for someone who's got experience in supply chain, then if I use a keyword or let's say a skill in project management, then there should be a consistent theme across your profile. Something that appears on your profile, it gets repeated on your job descriptions, your job titles, and on your skills. And the reason I ask that question is because in some cases we feel that we can't control the skills for which we are recommended, but then you can delete them or you can re-edit them, or even you can ask people to endorse you for a certain skill set that you want to be known by. Right?
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Great question.
Sabrina, there is a question. Yes?
Where is the section where others can put down recommendations and endorsements for?
Yes, where is the section that others can put recommendations and endorsements for you?
So I'm going to leave this page here, jump back into the profile. has to be a first level connection. Okay, so you can see right now that I have a section called Holistic Career Life Coach and LinkedIn Trainer. Down below you can see Lee Mulligan has recommended me. So she went to my profile to write that recommendation. So I'm going to open up Stella's profile for a second. You, again, have to be a first level connection. In order to write it. You might think back, there might have been someone you did an internship with and they already wrote you up an evaluation for that internship, or maybe you had an annual work evaluation. If you have something in writing already and you're a first level connection with that person, you could go and grab that quote and send it to them and have them then put it onto your page, onto your LinkedIn page. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great. So I think there's probably a little delay here.
It's okay. We can see the screen.
Okay. You can see, Stella, can you see yourself right now?
Yeah.
Great. So in the very top box, right now it says send a message, and then it also says endorse. Then there's a little drop-down menu next to the word endorse. I clicked the drop-down menu, and my option in there includes the word recommend as the second one down. So I could go in and I could recommend Stella. And these are the options. I can recommend her as a colleague if I've worked with her at the same company, a service provider, a business partner, or a student. So that's how I would go in. That's how someone else would go in and recommend you as well. Any more questions?
I'm talking about the actual comment, because I actually asked someone to do it, and I didn't find it anywhere on my page, so I'm wondering.
Okay, so the question is, how can we find it on our profile, or how can we request others to write a recommendation for us? So Nofi here has already asked someone to recommend her for a project they worked on, and she cannot find the recommendation on her profile. So how can we find this?
So someone has to go onto your profile and hit the recommendation button right here. So for this student who is saying this, that person who wrote the recommendation has to go into LinkedIn. They have to be a first level connection to you. They have to go to your home page, your profile page, and go to this drop down menu in order to recommend you.
Yes, that already has been done. She doesn't know where to find the recommendation.
Oh, okay, got you. You can go down into Manage Recommendations. Once you have one, so I'm going to go into my profile, back into Edit mode, and this section does not show up until you have a recommendation, but once you do, scroll to the very bottom of your profile, and you'll see a recommendation section. You can also find it in your privacy and settings, and I can show you that in a second here too.
It would appear under the job for which you've been recommended, right? As she showed to you earlier. So if, for example, that person shows the right employer for which you work, yes. Yeah, if they've chosen that you were a service provider and it doesn't relate to an employer that you have listed on your profile, it wouldn't really show under the job. It might show, though, at the end of your page where all the recommendations are listed. Okay. Sabrina, over to you.
Okay. I'm just trying to get to my page is going really slow right now, so bear with me one moment. In a second, we're going to talk about media links. I just want to show you where the recommendations show up at the bottom. So when I'm in edit mode and I go scrolling all the way down to the bottom of the page, you can see, hopefully on your screen at this point, you can see the word recommendations in black. Does that show up?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So once I have one, this is how I go in and I manage them. Okay. I can manage the visibility. I can also ask to be recommended here. Can you see that on the screen in blue on the right-hand side? So I could actually send a request to somebody and say, would you be willing to recommend me?
I don't have that form on.
You only have that section once you have one recommendation in, though, so it's a little bit confusing.
All right. Okay,
Again.
that's what it is. Because
Yep.
not everyone has that section.
Yep. If you don't have any recommendations yet, you won't have that section appear until you have at least one.
So how can we get the first one then?
You could send just an email to somebody. I think you can also do it in privacy and settings. I know you can manage them there. I can't remember if you can request them. You might have to just send a LinkedIn regular message or send a regular email to a past classmate or past coworker saying to that individual, would you be willing to go onto my LinkedIn profile and hit the recommend button? I'm going to look in to change your settings and your privacy. What you have to do is go to the very upper right-hand corner of your profile and hover over your picture. So again, if you go to the very upper right-hand corner of your LinkedIn page, you'll see a tiny image of your own picture. And once you hover over that, you can see a drop-down menu. One of the drop-down menu options is privacy and settings. So I went in here to see, you have to add in a password every time you go to privacy and settings, just to remind you. In here, I can manage my recommendations. Whoops. It's the very last link. So it says, there's a box that says profile at the bottom, and it says privacy controls and gives you a whole list. Then it says settings, and then it says helpful links. At the bottom, right-hand section, I can see the word manage your recommendations. Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Great.
Cool.
So one more, so I'm going to do one more piece for profile. We're going to go back into our edit mode, and we're going to talk about something called media links. Media links allows your profile to come to life. If you look around right now online, you are opening all kinds of blogs and articles all over the internet. But almost every time you open something, it comes with a picture. So this visual trend is becoming so important. We want to incorporate it into our own profiles by adding visuals. If there's a visual next to something, we're more likely to click on it. So if we look down at summary, you're going to see a little box with a plus sign when you're in edit mode. So look at your own summary background section right now. And do you see that box with the plus sign right next to the edit key?
Yes.
Hopefully, yep, okay, great. And if you open that, you get two options. You get the option to add a link, which means you can add in any website, or you get the link to upload a file. You can upload PowerPoint, for example. You can upload PDFs, so you could save a Word document as a PDF. It takes seconds to do this. It's so incredibly easy. This is one thing I put on your absolute list because it's so fast and easy to do. And when you look at my summary section, what you see is 5 different pictures. The first one is my website for my private practice. The next one is an upcoming event. Then I have a blog post with it where that astronaut is. Where the CCTF is, it's a conference. And then the person hiking with the sun in the background, which is me actually up in the northern part of Maine, close to the Canadian border. That's an event that I run each year called Going Beyond New Year's Resolutions. So you can really get a sense of my work by my media links. A couple more examples are here in this section. I was featured in a newsletter. It's the green box that you see on the upper left. So I added that in as a PDF. And the next one is I took some of my recommendations and turned them into a PowerPoint. It says LinkedIn testimonials. If I'm going to show you actually one more person. Let me think here. I had invited this Northeastern University alum to come to my presentation about LinkedIn media links. And he's got lots of different media links. He spent a lot of time working in SMEs and entrepreneurial startups. And so in a moment, we're going to be able to see his. So this has so much potential, and it allows us to, you could show off a presentation that you did for a class. You could describe some work that you did for a company in the past. You could summarize an event and include some event photos. Okay, let me just scroll down here on Ethan's. And one of the most simple things that you can do is include the website for the company you're currently working with. So you can see, oh, sorry, my screen is so slow. I apologize. Yeah. It is just bouncing all over the place here. He worked for a company called Constant Contact, or currently works for that company, and he has a media link that goes right to the home page of the company he's currently working for. So you can see, hopefully, the words Constant Contact there. He also had his own startup called Uspin. What I like about this one is, look at the colors. We've got this gorgeous, orange and blue and green. Those colors attract our eye. So when you're thinking about the different media link choices, think about those that are also visually compelling so that people would want to click on them. I'll close this section just by saying, if you go to my home page, the Sabrina-Woods, and you click on blog, you'll see a blog post called 18 Ways to Turn Your Profile into a Portfolio. So if you think, wow, this has got potential, I want to add some of my own media links to make it more appealing, you can go check out that blog post and get some more inspiration. All right. Any questions on media links? Does that seem pretty straightforward and pretty worthwhile? We got nods?
Yes, we can move on.
Okay. So the next piece we're going to go into is I'm going to just jump back into the PowerPoint for a second and talk a little bit about connecting and building your network. Okay. This first slide is probably pretty straightforward. I'm going to guess that everyone has already made a bunch of invites and connected to different people. So the thing I want to say about connections is that you want to send out personal invites. 3 things that you want to add are the person's name, a personal message for them. Remind them how you know them. Maybe you worked with them a year ago. Maybe you met them at a meeting. Maybe you met them at an industry event. Or maybe you had a class with them. So add in a personal message, and then also add in the words "thank you." And I was intrigued and kind of impressed by this. Is Konstantinos in the room right now? Because he sent me an invite a month ago. Is he there?
Well, he was supposed to be here. Apparently, he forgot about it.
So what he did was he basically sent me an invite in January and said, I know that you're going to be speaking on campus next month or through this webinar forum, and he sent me an invitation to connect. So I've done the same thing. Even before going to an event, I've sent invitations, especially if I was a fellow presenter. I sent notes to other fellow presenters and said, I look forward to meeting you, and I look forward to seeing your presentation. So each of you are also welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. So I send that invitation out to those that I've worked with. Just have to remind me about attending this session. So you'll want to personalize your invite so I know who you are. couple more things. There are 4 levels of connections. There's a first, second, third, and group. First connections are Stella and I are already connected. We are first level. But anyone in Stella's network would then be my second level connection. And whenever I have a group together with somebody, I actually have the ability to send them messages. And we're going to show you that in just a moment. Asking for an introduction is something you can do with any first level connection. Let's say Stella knew somebody in Boston or somebody in New York City that I was interested in connecting with. I could actually send a note to Stella called an introduction and ask her if she'd be willing to connect me to this other person. On your handout, let's see where that is. Very bottom of the first page of your handout explains exactly how to do an introduction, and it gives you a link for more details. So I'm not going to take you through how to do that because it's described. But I do want to talk to you, actually we've already mentioned this really briefly. Adding updates the same way you do as Facebook, but only professional. So you might start to collect information or read different websites. For example, I love stuff.
Sabrina?
Yeah?
So can I interrupt you? There is a question.
Absolutely, that'd be fine.
Yeah, go on.
So my question is, I get connected to someone of high level, and then the person accepts my connection, my request to connect him. Is it wrong to get back to the person and say thank you? For, you know,
Oh,
I connected with someone and he got back to me with a message like, good to have you as a friend, and I look forward to positive results in our friendship. And I'm just wondering if it's weird or it's anything. Yeah, that's.
Is it over the top?
So how do you respond to that invitation?
I mean, for me, I found it nice.
I think it's fine to say, thank you so much to connect with me. Here's the other thing you can do. I look forward to seeing your updates and activity on LinkedIn. Because when you're on a home page, okay, you can see if someone else has posted different updates the same way it works in Facebook. So that's a perfect question to tie into what I show you here on this page. I saw a good article about LinkedIn that was posted by this gentleman named Wayne. And so I put that on my home page, and several people then went in and started hitting the like button. Now, when someone hits the like button on something that I've posted, I see their name, and they stay top of mind to me. So the person, the high-level person that you just connected with, you might watch your home page, and if you see a post from him or her, then you can hit the like button. What that also does is it takes that particular article and it puts it on your home page. You're helping that individual's reputation grow by clicking the like button. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good? Okay. So I'm all about, reaching out to people, thanking people for connecting with you is totally appropriate, and then keeping a lookout, like I said, on your LinkedIn homepage, because then you might be able to continue to interact with that person. It's a really cool way to stay active within someone's network. All right? So move on to the next one. So one level of having contact is the home page. Anyone that's a first level connection with you could potentially see an article or a post that you make on your home page. Only first level connections. Now, if we move into groups, if we move into the finance club group, I'm going to go into a group in just a few minutes, but within a group, you have got greater access to the millions of people on LinkedIn. This allows you to help expand your network. And one of my absolute favorite things about LinkedIn is that final bullet. You can send a message to group members directly, even if you're not a first level connection. I'm going to say that again. You can actually send a message out to someone, even if you're not connected as a first level connection. You can do that within a group. Okay. One more topic area we're going to cover, and then we're going to do some advanced searching within LinkedIn and talk about groups, is the topic of informational interviewing. Okay, we've got another 10 to 12 minutes here so I can cover this networking piece. Has anyone in the audience done an informational interview before, or does anyone know what that phrase means? Anybody?
Yes.
Can anyone describe a word or two on what an informational interview is?
Finding out more about that particular individual's industry or experience, but specifically not asking them for the job.
So I think I heard you find out about a person's experience, find out about the industry. Is what I heard? Anything?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the meeting is not to ask for a job.
Ah, exactly. That's fantastic. So when I'm doing an informational interview, I'm actually interviewing that person as if I'm kind of like a reporter. I'm learning about a company. I'm learning about someone's career path. I'm asking them about what it took for them to be successful so that I can learn from it. I'm really being a student. Even if I've already graduated, my attitude, if I'm doing an informational interview, is I want to learn. That was my attitude when I met up with Stella the first time. Wow, I just want to hear, how does job search take place? How do career counselors work? I wanted to learn what the differences were. I was so curious. I was doing an informational interview. I wasn't looking for a job. I just wanted advice and information. The attitude with these is you plant seeds for future. So we're not asking for a job in the moment, but we might circle back to that person 3 months later, and then you see that there's a job open at their organization. If I had been interested in working in the UAE and I saw an opening where Stella had a connection or where she'd worked before, I could circle back to her and say, I met with you 3 months ago. I noticed that you're connected to George, who has an opening at his organization. Is there any chance you might be able to connect me to him? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that organization, maybe even ask him some advice before I apply. So that's kind of how that networking process works. Okay, we're going to go, oh yeah, so one more slide says, so how to prepare for a specific career, do a career change, find out about developments within your industry, and what a particular company's culture is like. Okay, we're going to jump back into LinkedIn and talk about joining groups and how to network within them. Let's do that now. So what I'm going to do is I can type in something like, I'm going to use finance for a moment as an example. Each of you now can go to your very top bar. Let me find out real quick, how many of you in the audience, raise of hands, are already in at least one group? Are most of you already using groups?
Everyone. Yes.
Everyone. Okay. Has anyone actually added to discussions? Anybody raise of hands if you've actually added to a group discussion?
A few.
2? Good. Okay. What my hope is that number is going to go up to all of you. And the reason, again, is because I have gotten to know people in groups, like that gentleman named Jim, who I have then ended up being able to cross paths with and do business with. So I've just clicked on finance as an example. I belong to a group called Finance Club. There are 414,000 people in this group. Now, let me click on the Finance Club for a moment. And if I'm already a member, I can go in and I can search by keywords within this group. So on one level, one of the things I'm going to want to do is add to the conversation by contributing good blog posts or good articles. The other thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to respond when someone else posts something. And I can also hit the like button. Now, if I want to reach out directly to somebody, I can click on the Members tab once I'm inside a group. Each of you can try this right now. Jump into one of your own groups. And once you're there, look for, you'll see discussions, promotions, jobs, which we talked about earlier, So that's going to be a good thing to look at. And then the word members. So if you click on the members tab, I can now put in a particular company name. I can put in a location. And I can see different members that fit the bill there. So let's see, what example might I want to use in here? How about I try, anybody have a company name, a large organization that's related to finance that they'd like me to try, or a location? Just need a volunteer. Anybody?
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, great. What's going to happen is when I'm using a free account, okay, again, when I'm not I don't actually pay for a LinkedIn premium account. I do a free one. When I'm using a free account, I get a chance to see 100 will be listed here using the free one. So you can see right now that there is a gentleman by the name of Mark Ferreira, who's a financial analyst working in Boston. He's my second level connection. But from this page, I can actually hit the send message button, and I can send him a note without having to pay for a premium account. This is probably one of the most powerful parts of LinkedIn. This is one of my most important messages to each of you today. You could go home tonight after class and easily find 10 people in a group that you'd like to talk to. I say 10 because out of 10, you'll probably get a chance to actually hear back from one. Let me say that again. You're not going to hear back from everyone. Not everybody's going to respond. But we have a very perseverant attitude, okay? I encourage you to have a perseverant attitude towards this. Find 10 people of interest and reach out asking for an informational interview. It could be via Skype. So many people have Skype these days, so they don't have to be right in Dubai. They can be anywhere, right? You've been studying international business. We work with people all over the world these days. It's not very uncommon for someone to reach out and ask for that kind of a meeting, all right? So very cool way in which you can grow your network, get to know people at organizations that you're targeting. And I've also included in the LinkedIn page of my website a little blurb about how to ask somebody so that you're doing it in a professional way. So if you go to that page again, you'll see the phrase, under handouts, you'll see the phrase, sample request for informational interview. It's also, I think it's also hyperlinked on your handout when you go to the live handout, the online version of the handout. So this way you'll be comfortable crafting a good message and being able to say to somebody in a nice way, would you be willing to speak with me for a few minutes? You want to look through their profile, and you want to be really specific about why you are interested in them. So if it doesn't sound so generic, they're more likely to say yes to you. If you say, I'm so intrigued by the fact that you've worked for both a small investment firm, a boutique firm, as well as you've worked for a large, incredibly large financial services institution, I'd like to hear the differences about those environments. I'd really welcome the opportunity to speak with you. Here is the sample that you can circle back to. It just starts out with through an alumni LinkedIn group. So you can use your HOLT connections, which are all over the world, as you know. In fact, I looked up, there's 6,900 alumni and students that have HOLT listed as their school, okay? That's a lot of different alumni that you can now reach out to. So you could state something like, through an alumni LinkedIn group, I discovered that you currently work in financial services. As I finish up my MBA in specializing in finance, I'm contacting either professionals or I'm contacting fellow alums in related fields for advice. I won't read the rest of it because you can circle back around to this and look at it later. But hopefully that makes you feel like, here's a good example of how I can go about it. There's, let me just see how we're doing on time. I've got a couple more minutes. I want to do one more, I want to show you one more way in which you can do this, and that is through the alumni page. There is a tab under Networks that says Find Alumni. So look at your very top bar. The top bar on LinkedIn says Home, Profile, Network. Click on the Network tab, and then, can everybody find that okay? The Find Alumni, hopefully that's showing up on your screen. When you go to the Find Alumni page, it's going to pull up your own university first, but you can change it to any university. So I am going to go and change mine to be Holt so you can see how this search works. When you're doing one of these searches, one of the advantages is to look to see who shares a group with you. Now on the right-hand side, it says change schools, so I'm going to go to that drop-down menu and type in Holt. And Holt pops up. Now the information is going to be changing over, and you'll see about halfway down the page, you'll see that there are 6,950 students and alumni found. I can go and I can look at these alumni. I can see there are 25 at Deloitte. I can see that there are 516 working in the consulting sector. There's also an arrow on the right-hand side that's going to allow me 3 other ways in which I can search people. One thing I might want to do is check off the word group members, because you've already seen, if you can find a shared group with somebody, you can send them a message. Let's say group members, let's say I'm targeting someone that works within market research. Sounds interesting. So now my number is 578. I can scroll down here and I can see people from San Francisco, from India, from Texas, from New York City, people from all over happen to fit the category I started typing in, which was targeting the market research and somebody that shares a group with me. I can click on Jessica. I can see what groups we have in common. And it might be, for example, Harvard Business Review is one of my favorites. Once I know what group we share, I could go into Harvard Business Review. I can do a member search on her name specifically, okay? So that's the key. You don't have to just search on an industry or a job title. I can search on a person's name, and then her name's going to pop up, and I can send her a message. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah?
Yes.
Great. The very last one that I'm going to show off is researching companies. So I can go in and take that gold. I'm going to type in the top. Maybe you've already done this before, but you can type in a company name. I put in Goldman Sachs since we were using that as our example earlier. If you decide to follow a company, what that means is their information, their updates will show up on your home page. So here's Goldman Sachs. I can open it and look at it, as well as hit the follow key. So it would be great. I could keep track by hitting the follow button. A lot of companies are posting their job openings on their home pages, so you would then see those, and that would be a constant reminder of when things are happening at a given organization. This is just taking a moment to come up. The other thing I can do is I can see how I'm connected. So I have 626 second-degree connections for Goldman Sachs. That's an amazing number of people who've had some work there or have it listed in their profile in some way. Anybody in the group already following companies? Raise a hand. No? Couple?
A few?
Okay.
Oh, no, all actually, yeah.
Lots?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So those are the main, when we're looking back at the handout, those are the main ones that I wanted to make sure I covered. And the details about, how to get into a group and find that, how to do an advanced search on a person is right in the middle of the page. I didn't do that example, but I just want you to know. It says, use your group memberships to network effectively. Is halfway down our handout. That's the only one I didn't give a sample of, but I wanted to save, since we're already at our time limit, I wanted to then see what other questions we might have from you guys. See where you're at, which things you like, what things you think you might take advantage of, or any questions.
Yes. Would you like to come closer?
If you come closer, I'll be able to hear better.
Yes. Hi. My name is Ayman. I would like to thank you for the fantastic benefits and the fantastic knowledge you shared with us. Thank you for this. Actually, my question is about the skills part. In the skills, you can add a lot of skills because you can go through different skills. But somehow this is scattering the endorsement and scattering, how the people will see you. So what do you suggest? Shall we focus on like the 10 skills or the top 10 skills and mention this in the LinkedIn, or just put everything that you went through?
That's such a good question. And you know what? It's Ayman.
Ayman, yes.
Ayman. I have read different articles and blogs. I read several updates and blogs about LinkedIn every day. I have seen articles that have been saying it's more advantageous to have lots of keywords in your skills section, because in case someone is searching for that particular word, you're more likely to come up. So one group of people believe you should have as many keywords packed into your profile as possible. There's another group of people that say that you should make it a smaller, more specialized list so that it's not showing you as a jack of all trades, not showing you as someone who is very scattered. Here's what I would do. If I were an individual that wanted to be very specialized in how I want to come across to others, and I wanted to show a very deep knowledge in a smaller number of specialty areas, I would keep that list to be only 10 or 15, okay, or maybe even less. If I wanted my next job to be very multitasking, very wider ranging, okay, if I wanted to really show off a lot of different skill sets, then I would probably go for the strategy of having more. So I think you'll want to make the decision based on where you're headed. Okay, I've got quite a few in because I have a lot of different areas in which I like to work in, especially working in higher ed, and I'm working in consulting, working with social media, but also working in the holistic retreats. I'm very, very wide-ranging for mine. Does that make sense to you? A good plan.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Just
Good.
one more question regarding the skills part. The skills, some of them is hard skills related to industry and related to what you do, and some of them is soft skills, communication, thinking, whatever. So somehow, which one you suggest to put or to balance?
One of the things you want to do is I think you want to be a combination. So I'm going to come back to that statement. If I'm a recruiter or I'm a hiring manager, I am looking not only for someone that has very specific skills, say in finance or supply chain or small business. I'm also looking for some soft skills so that I can imagine you fitting onto my team. So if you can think back to how you've been received by other classmates and coworkers, how do people describe you? Are you somebody that's very diligent, that's very responsible, that is incredibly dependable? If those kinds of characteristics are how you're described by others, you might find a way to use one of those words in your summary. A word like dependable and responsible won't show up in the skills and endorsement section. That's you could use words like creative or analytical probably in that section. But something that's a pure personality characteristic would probably only show up in summary. But my personal take is that you want to be able to include both. So you're not just a black and white, this is my skill set, so that we know a little bit more about who you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. Some more questions?
More questions? Come in, sure.
Just one more question. Actually, about the commercial, I saw in your handouts, it's a good idea to have a 30-second commercial about yourself. But somehow we didn't talk about it.
Well,
So
that's
this one,
sure. That's another phrase. The summary. Let me go back and visually show you summary again here. The summary is your 30-second commercial. There's another American phrase called your elevator pitch. When you walk into an elevator or a lift, and if you were with a high up, the president, the CEO, or the VP, and you were in that elevator going up to the 30th floor, you would only have about 30 seconds to maybe have a conversation with that person. So that's where that phrase comes from, the 30-second commercial or the elevator pitch. How do you want to come across to someone that has never met you before? That's why the summary is so important. It's a collection of your technical and industry skills, your transferable skills like being analytical or creative, as well as some of those personality characteristics. My personality characteristics are that I'm a collaborator and a connector. That's how I want people to know me, but I want them to know I have the technical skills to do LinkedIn, and that I've done it in some international settings. So there's these different levels in which I'm communicating and talking in that summary. So that's my 30-second commercial. What you're going to want, each of you are going to want to do is create a summary. And if ever possible, if you could show it to someone that doesn't know you very well, that's a really great way to find out how am I coming across in my summary. You could ask somebody you don't know well to take 30 seconds to look at that summary, repeat back to you 2 to 3 themes from your summary. That's a good way to check it out and see if it's effective. I've been doing that with a number of people, some of my colleagues, and they've had some surprises about how they're coming across. Great questions. Does anyone want to ask anything else? And if time allowed and you still wanted me to show my homepage and talk about that a little further as a closing, I'd be happy to do so. But I want to first see if you'd like me to, or if there's more questions.
Guys, do you have any more questions? I know it's a little bit late here, Sabrina. It's
Yeah.
8 o'clock and everyone's around the end of the day, so people are getting a little bit tired.
Oh my goodness, you guys are amazing to do this after a long day.
So if you have any other questions that we can answer in the next 2-3 minutes, please let me know. Yeah, please do so. Okay, one last question, and no, it's fine.
I'm using this tool a lot.
Sure.
One more question, actually. I came to know that the recruiters use this tool to do a kind of analysis about your type of connections, to which level you are connected to inside the company, to which people you are connected, to which industries. So, and this is going through the premium accounts that they have.
I'm having trouble hearing the very first part. Is your question, are you asking me, should I get a premium account?
Exactly, because my question is, I came to know that the recruiters using the LinkedIn as a tool to analyze your connections and your level of connection inside the different organizations in specific industries. Is this true? Is the LinkedIn giving this tool or this interface to the recruiters?
Recruiters can use the basic level the same way we do to search people, but recruiters can also purchase a higher level of searching capability so that they can type in lots of different criteria when they purchase this higher level software tool. it allows them to do deeper searches with lots more criteria, much more specific than we can do with the free account, so that it makes their searches for very hard to fill positions easier. Does that make sense?
The question was, he came to understand that recruiters are using the premium accounts to do a little bit of more research about how a certain individual is connected with other people. So they deep into your profile and see, let's say, if they're recruiting for a sales manager, right? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is true, and they are using that, yes. And particularly for senior roles, I'm sorry for jumping in, Sabrina.
No,
for
please
senior
do.
roles, and if, for example, they're looking for someone related to business development, then they would look into that sort of analysis to see whether your connections are of quality connections and how you're connected to those contacts. Yes, premium accounts for headhunters allows you to do that, and it
Okay.
is being used, yeah.
So is there I'm lost on what the question is. You're asking, is this important to have connections, or?
It's more of a question whether recruiters are using it to analyze the contacts of a certain candidate. So
I've never had that question pop up, but it makes sense. If that tool is available to recruiters, again, I haven't heard about this one, but it would make sense if I was a recruiter and I'm looking to hire a director of sales. If I have the ability to look to see who they're connected to, I would absolutely check that out. I am going to be interested in somebody who's really connected within their field, because LinkedIn is a tool that's being used within sales, and relationship building and marketing and advertising are all becoming integrated within LinkedIn. So it would be relevant to me as a recruiter if you had a very robust connection. I don't know what you were saying about they do have it access. I haven't heard that they do, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do have the ability to. Anyone that's your first level connection can see your other connections and can even search them.
great.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think we need to wrap up here, Sabrina. Guys, if you have any further questions, you can send them to me, and I can send them to Sabrina, and we can get them answered. We will share handouts so you have the hyperlinks as well and the presentation, and we'll have the recorded seminar sent to us as well. So thank you very much for staying until that late. I really appreciate that, and I hope you learned something new today. And I hope to see you also. And Sabrina, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. It was a privilege to be there. Thank you for coming out tonight, even after a long day.
Thank you. Thank you. It was our pleasure having you.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Feel free to connect with me, and I'll look for you on LinkedIn.
Someone already sent an invite.
Fantastic.
Great. Sabrina, if I may ask you to close the recording now. So you can save the file, and we can